Good evening. Welcome to another edition of the 411 Talk Song Radio Show right here on YouTube. And tonight, I got a good one for you. And we'll talk about the American ignorance and emotion when it comes to politics in this country. Now, on November 5th, many of us went to vote. I'm going to say roughly 150 million people went to vote. 77 million of them came out for Donald Trump, and roughly 72 to 73 million came out for Kamala Harris. But there seems to be a growing impatience when it comes to America when we look at what Donald Trump is trying to do for this country. Now, do I think Donald Trump is moving 100 miles an hour in some areas? I do. But remember, he's trying to reverse 4 years of what we went through when Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were in office. I mean, you had inflation, and yes, inflation was about 9%, and then he got it down to 5%, but that was still 5 times higher than what Trump had it when he was in office the first time. But the biggest hangup right now is the Democrats. They're trying to convince a number of Trump voters to regret voting for Trump. Now, let me give you something. I was working out there with a guy. I'm not going to mention his name, but he's another black guy. And when it comes to black people, particularly the older black people, they have little knowledge of what's going on out there. I mean, they think you have to be on the fence for every Democrat, no matter who it is. They don't understand that the Democratic Party was the party of the Klan. They don't understand that the Democratic Party was used to disrupt Republican conventions. And a number of black people were Republicans up until the 1960s. In fact, it took a Republican House to help pass the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Because in 1957, when Congressman Lyndon B. Johnson was in office under Dwight D. Eisenhower, who was the president then, they wanted to pass it in 57. He said no. The bottom line when it comes to Americans, and I just want to say this to you all, you got to be patient with what's going on. I mean, Rome wasn't built in a day. And I believe that a number of us Americans, we tend to be impatient. I happen to be one of those who can be impatient myself, and I'm learning to be patient because it does take time, particularly when you have an opposing party trying to basically object to everything that Donald Trump wants to do. The Republicans have a slim majority lead in the House. They have a lead of 6 senators, but you got 2 of them, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska and Susan Collins of Maine, who are rhinos. And of course, Mitch McConnell. Now, Mitch McConnell is retiring, and his Senate seat is up anyway next year. So hopefully the Republicans can get that seat. They can get some more House seats so Trump can have his agenda pushed through. Now, you hear a number of the liberals on the left, especially with that protest, and that protest was a bullshit protest. Because when it comes to change, Americans want change, but they don't want change. In other words, they have been complacent with the way things have been for years under previous governments. So now you bring somebody who actually wants to change the way government operates, they have an issue with it. They're uncomfortable with it. And I'm going to tell you, change is uncomfortable, especially when it's instantaneous and not gradual change. Now, today, Donald Trump, when it came to the tariffs, because we've been watching the market, and this is where the ignorance comes in. Most of you Americans don't even invest in the market. Many of you don't even have a 401k plan. So many of you are watching the media, you don't understand how stocks work. Now, my humble opinion about everything is you have certain companies like your Walmarts and your Amazons and your AT&Ts and your Xfinity, Comcast cable, they're really controlling the market. And when they control the market, they're really controlling your choices of what you can make. So when they control the market, they're going to dictate how much they can charge. So what I believe is happening with the tariffs, and Trump decided, so you'll know, to postpone the tariffs for 90 days, and 75 other countries, they haven't come in with any retaliation. Now, the only country that has a problem right now is China. China wanted to charge us 84%. Trump said, well, we're going to charge 125%. Now, here's what you have to understand. Individuals out there, when it comes to politics and anything that you do in life, you're going to have to negotiate. A number of us don't make the money that we want because we don't know how to negotiate. And as far as Black people, we've always looked to some person, some leader to help us get through our life. But one must understand that the leaders that we had, your Martin Luther Kings and your Malcolm X's, although they had good visions, they were assassinated. Now, personally, I prefer Malcolm X over Martin Luther King because Martin Luther King had some communism in him. And when it comes to movements, all these protests out there, most of the people who are protesting, now I saw a few Blacks out there, they're your young liberal white women, your older liberal white women, and white men. These are individuals who are probably getting government benefits. And they're talking about everything being cut. Why should you older people out there care about the U.S. Department of Education? What did we have before the U.S. Department of Education? Basically, states ran their own public school systems. Remember something, the United States Department of Education was established during the Carter administration back in 1979. So that's roughly 46 years ago. When you had the foreign USA, well, there are a number of people, particularly the Democrats and some rhinos, they were getting kickbacks from USA. And Donald Trump appointed Elon Musk to go ahead and look at the fraud and look at where the money is going. But it seems to me that you have your individuals on the left. Right now, they're trying to defend China. And everything that Trump wants to do, like cutting government, the lefties are voting for more government. Why? Because they're lazy people and they're ignorant people. They believe that government is their savior. Well, let me tell you something. If you want government programs, you want to be taken care of from cradle to grave, I have a suggestion for you. Go live in places like Denmark and Sweden. They will take care of you. You're never going to get rich, but you don't have to work hard. Here in America, what I believe is happening is China, they've been going against the trade policies for a long time, and they're going to continue to go against the trade policies. The tariffs are set up for other countries to pay their fair share when they're exporting goods into the United States. But the United States, they've been charged much higher tariffs to import their goods and services in other countries. And other countries, they didn't have to pay when it came to other administrations. Now, Donald Trump did have tariffs when he was in office from 2016 to 2020. Ronald Reagan, he had tariffs. You know, Joe Biden had tariffs too because he never got rid of Trump's tariffs. He never did. But the bottom line is, you Americans out there, you need to get more educated because the better educated you are, the less stressed you're going to be and the less impatient you're going to be. And that impatientness is really coming from ignorance. Like I said, I was with a brother out there talking about politics. And he tried to tell me as a black man that because I didn't vote Democrat, that I have a massive brainwashing. No. And if you keep voting Democrat, particularly if you're a man and you're voting for all these programs and you're following women, you have the brainwashing. And right now, if you are a man, period, you should be going in the red pill and then in the black pill. You need to really understand the truth. We have too many guys out here, men. They're hiding under the blanket of red pill, but they're really blue pill because I can see their actions. They're not leaders. If you look at the Hot Kings, the Cory Bookers, you look at a lot of the men in the Democratic Party, they seem to be soft. They're more or less, I call them filled with cream. That's not who I want leading the country. And then you had Kamala Harris come out at a woman's function. And basically, that was some rah rah to make women feel good. Because I'm just going to say this, a number of women out here, I'm going to call it like it is. You all are stupid. You all are. I see a number of you women get on these shows, regardless of what race. You just run your mouth and you have no facts to back it up. It's all emotions. It's all garbage. It's all bullshit, to be honest with you. But a number of you are just running your mouth to make yourselves feel good. And you're using that bullshit that was taught to you in college. Many of you, what are you doing as far as work? Nothing. I mean, you look at the cackling hens on The View. They have no knowledge. They live in New York. They couldn't associate with anybody like me because they think they're better than me because they live in New York. Look, I am not impressed by you city folk out there. In fact, I think a number of you city and suburban folk, you're the more stupid people. And if something ever comes around, let's see how well you're going to survive. Many of you think you can go out there and get your lattes at Starbucks, you turn on your CNN, you go get your nails done, you're driving nice cars. Let me tell you something. In the end, you bleed just like I bleed. And a lot of you make no sense. And what you're doing, you talk about oligarchs. I could say that about the left. You got more oligarchs than the name oligarch. You look at what happened at the Democratic National Convention. Nothing but rich folk. Here's the problem. Those rich folk couldn't turn the people out for Kamala Harris. That was the difference. Now you look at what Trump, he had very little rich people, but he turned the people out. And I guarantee if Trump was on a campaign trail, he will turn the people out again. Bottom line is, Trump is trying to get the market. And I really believe this. He wants other markets here. See, in America, you're never going to make it if you don't compete. Competition is good because it keeps prices down. You see, without competition, look what you have. I can tell you the cable business. Here in Indianapolis, we only have one cable company running the show here. That's Comcast. Yep, we had Spectrum. What happened to Spectrum? Well, they didn't make money, so they decided to go pure internet. MetroNet, when I lived in Lafayette, Indiana. Now up in Portage, Indiana, where I used to live, they had Frontier. They're lousy. And what Comcast is doing, they're taking the whole market. When I lived in Slatington, Pennsylvania, Service Electric ran that area. Comcast decided to come in there and buy Service Electric in that area. You see, you have all these big companies out here, they're trying to swallow up the competition so they can dictate the market. It's where you get all these duopolies and monopolies. And many of you Americans, you really don't understand how the market works because many of you go to work, you're working from what we call payday to payday. First of all, you have to learn to tighten your belts. Stop buying bullshit all the time. I mean, do you need a $50,000 car? No, you don't. But a number of you want to be stylish. This is what the yuppies do. The yuppies, they live in these nice areas, these houses all cramped together. I can tell you, you got plenty of them in Carmel and Fishers. Now, Noblesville is all right, but Noblesville is starting to become yuppie-ish. You got a few of them in Zionsville and Whitestown, and I'm just giving you the areas right around northwest and northeast Indianapolis. But you know what? You know, those people get on the road, they don't know how to drive, especially when they're coming down I-69 and I-465, well, they act like they own the place. They act like they're the most important thing out there. But these are your ignorant people because all they do is spend money. Now, it's great to spend money. Now, what you want is a market full of competition so you'll have more taxpayers, more jobs. We want the jobs that come here. I see what the play is. When individuals don't understand the play, they think, okay, it's been not even 100 days yet, and they're expecting a miracle. Jesus didn't work miracles like that. Read your Bible. It takes time. Many of us, I call it ignorant patience, and that's why most of people out there are reacting on emotion because they don't read. You need to watch Bill O'Reilly, and if you're here on YouTube, you need to watch, and I'm going to give him a shout out again. You need to watch Tito the Truth, Black Pill Dom, and Machismo TV. And there are a few others. You watch people like Black Conservative Perspective, ABL. You don't have to agree with them. You need to watch Benny Johnson, Tim Pool. Turn off the TV and start watching some of these podcasters out there because they have better information. Brandon Tatum. You don't have to agree with them. Watch Cunningham, Benny Cunningham. He puts everything in live on every day. You know, get off, if you're on Black YouTube, get off the relationship shit. You're not going to do anything about that. You know, you have a number of individuals who they don't like this country. Okay, you don't like Trump, but I guarantee if he's giving you a $50,000 stimulus check, you'll like him then. You're not going to return that money back. And I don't care what party you're from. Now, he's trying to do things that other presidents haven't done. He's a businessman. Many of you don't even know how business works because you are a worker. You're the worker bee. You're doing the work. You're not, and even if you're managing the work, you don't own the company. Now, of course, terrorists came. Many of you don't even understand how terrorists work. Basically, attacks again coming in from the other countries for importing their goods into our countries or in our country from other countries. Again, other countries in the world, they've been doing it to us. But you have the Democrats, they're siding with those other countries. So the Democrats are calling Trump a Nazi, but yet they're siding with all these dictators out here. And this is the problem. Americans' impatience and emotion comes from ignorance. Why? Because you don't really look at what's going on. You're not really educating yourselves. You're going on the mainstream media, most of you. The mainstream media is run by corporate people too. And see, if we can break some of that up and actually have more media outlets, you will get a better idea of what's going on. See, in capitalism, there's competition and there's ownership. Capitalism is rough. It's dog eat dog. You're trying to compete. Everybody's trying to compete for that dollar in capitalism. Capitalism is an ownership economic philosophy. It's not communism where the government runs everything and they give you what they want to give you. And it's not socialism where the government decides where they want to distribute the resources. That's why all this equality bullshit, it doesn't work. But you have many individuals out here who voted for Trump and now they regretted voting for Trump. That's because they listen to the mainstream media. They're brainwashed. Most people don't even look at history. There is a lot of history that I didn't even know until I came here to YouTube. And hearing so many individuals out there, I started reading up. Now, we talk about slavery, but many of us, we weren't back there when slavery took place. So do we know everything that happened? I can tell you this. Black people don't want to say this, but you know it was black people who sold black people into slavery. And black people, some of them had slaves. You also had the Irish. They were slaves. So black people weren't the only slaves out there. But because a number of individuals lack knowledge, they've been told it's just the blacks. Now, you do have a number of ignorant whites out there as well. You look at the liberal ones, they're out there protesting, and a number of them don't even know what they're protesting for. Why? Because they're paid. Many of them talk about jobs where you're leaving work just to go to protest. Now, there were protests in all 50 states, but I live here in Indiana, and let me tell you something. I didn't see any protests taking place downtown Indianapolis. A lot of your protests took place in your blue states. That's where the problems are, not in the red states. And it's up to the citizens there to stop putting the same Democratic people in. Now, I'm not saying everybody in the Democratic Party is bad, and I'm not saying everybody in the Republican Party is good. No. But when you don't vote common sense people in, it's because you don't have common sense and you're waiting for a miracle. Turn off the TV. Get out of the public school system. And for the most part, you got to educate yourself again. You know, just because you go and vote, you also have to hold your politician accountable. And when it comes to what's going on with the Trump administration, he signed a lot of executive orders trying to overturn 4 years of what Biden didn't do. But you have all these liberal activist judges trying to block everything that he's doing. And judges aren't supposed to make policy, they're supposed to interpret the law. That's what judges are supposed to do. But I've never seen any judge, except for these leftist judge, they're legislating from the bench. And when I use the word legislating, that means they're trying to make law from the bench. Well, that's what a legislator is supposed to do. That's why you have your House and your Senate. They're your lawmakers. The president, he's pretty much the executive, but he's a figurehead. But he can veto. Now, if I were in a position of a governor or a president, I would like a line item veto. I would like to see, okay, what are you bringing up to me? Because see, what it is with some of these bills too, that people don't know is the reason why they make these bills so fat is because most people won't read the bills. And what's in those bills is really not what you really want. It's a lot of fat in those bills. You know, you hear people talking about Project 2025. It's Agenda 47. Really, the Democrats want Project 2025 because they want to be the authoritarians of the people. They want to tell us what is best for us when they don't even know what's best for them. But again, it is our responsibility to educate ourselves. I mean, I saw some kids on a YouTube video. They were being interviewed. They didn't know anything about the Constitution. They didn't even know how many senators they are. They didn't even know how many House members they are. So when these individuals go out to vote, these dummies, and these are the ones who are getting on the microphone, you got to look at and ask, well, what were these people protesting about? What do they want? When DEI was gotten rid of, we're looking for merit based. Now, can there be some bias in merit based? Yes, but there can also be bias in DEI as well. And what I'm tired of is this forced diversity. And see, that's what Biden had. He put somebody that was transgender in as his health and human services secretary. He said he was going to put a person of color, a woman of color, as his vice president. He put a black woman in who didn't even know what a woman was, at Ketanji Jackson, in the Supreme Court. It's all fake. And the people on the left, they're your segregationists because that's all they talk about is race. Now, I'm not going to say white people aren't phony because you do have some phony white people. Yeah, they may talk to you, but you don't know what they're saying behind closed doors. But I'm not going to lie. Do I talk about white people? Yeah, talk about them, especially their cooking because many of them can't cook. Their food tastes like shit. Yeah, I talk about it. Talk about them not having any rhythm. So we talk about it. They might be calling me a nigger behind my back. Some of them are crackers. I've said it. Yes. Now, do I dislike white people? No, I don't dislike them. I think a number of them, particularly your white liberals, women and men, they're stupid. But where they're smart is they're just putting all the black women out to speak. They're getting them all on these liberal talk shows, just running their mouths. And many of them, especially when they talk about economics, They can't even spell economics. They don't understand that economics, what is basic about economics is two things: supply and demand. And it also comes from regulations. Now, we have a global society, but 47th President Donald J. Trump is looking out for America first. And you should look out for your own home first. When I go out to work, do I give a damn what's going on in my neighbor's home, in my neighbor's yard? Sure, I could care, but am I going to look out for them over me? Absolutely not. That's just like being in an airplane. If I'm going down, you think I'm going to give somebody else my mask? Hell no. That's how you have to think. America is a beautiful country. And for the most part, you have a lot of people who have not traveled. And many of them, like I said, they're impatient. They don't they don't play the stock market. Many of them can't even afford to buy stocks. So they don't know what yield is. They don't know what NASDAQ is. They don't know what the DJI is, the Dow Jones Industrial. All they're looking at is, see, the media, what they do, they can put information out there. You talking about misinformation, disinformation? The media puts it out every day because it deceives the ignorant people. Now, if I'm on the right side, you want to knock out some of that ignorance. Now, Byron Donaldson, congressman from Florida, he is doing it. Go and challenge these liberal people in their house, because you know the liberals, they're cowards. You think they're going to come and challenge the conservatives? No, because they're scared. They hide amongst each other. They talk amongst each other. This is why I say they're ignorant, because they're trying to force their views down our throat. They don't get out here and deal with anybody outside their own circles because they can't. Yeah, they might think they're better, but in the end, the bottom line for all these liberals out there, they have no idea how America works because they're lazy people. They don't want to work. And if they do work, they want the more cushiony jobs. They talk about how many degrees they got. Yeah, in every society here in America, the females have more degrees than the male. But most of the female degrees are all bullshit degrees anyway. They're easy degrees. I mean, anybody can go get a degree in general studies. Now, if you use that degree to go to law school, that's one thing, but I don't even think law school is that great because a number of individuals, if they were good lawyers, they wouldn't be appearing on CNN or all these other shows. You know why they're on those shows? Yes, they're getting paid a pretty penny. Many of them, they can't get cases. Why? Because to be a lawyer, you're gonna have to work at a law firm. You're gonna have to do research. Many of them aren't into doing research. They want the paper just to say they got it. Bottom line is this: just because you go to school, you have to keep on educating yourself. Education does not stop at a bachelor's, a master's, or a doctorate, or an associate. No, there's so much out here to learn. And I always say this: if you want to be ignorant, you're never going to learn anything. You're always going to react emotionally. See, somebody can tell me I'm brainwashed. No, I see things from all different views, but I know what makes sense. I understand how everything works here. You have a number of people out here who don't understand how the economy works. Again, this is why they're impatient. Oh, Donald Trump said gas prices are going to go down. Gas prices are going down. Just depends on what state you're in. Now, see, what you got to check with is your local government. That's who you really got to check with. Everybody's looking at Trump, but see, when I go out to vote, it's not just voting for people in the federal government. I'm voting for people in my state government. I'm voting for people in my local government. Why? Because I pay not just federal taxes, state taxes, and local taxes. I want to know where my tax money is going to. And when you get down to the local side of government, you really can pressure them. Why? Because you're actually closer to them. Like if I wanted to write the Mayor Hogshead here in Indianapolis, I could do that. He's on the 25th floor. I mean, I met him. I mean, he doesn't want his city to go to shits here. He doesn't. He's a Democrat. But see, let's take the D's and the R's off the sleeves. I want common sense people. And I don't want somebody being put in a situation because they're race. Because one guy told me, well, I bet you got hired based on your race. If I'm going to have one thing when it comes to DEI that probably has helped me, because I'm a veteran. But you know what? Whether I worked in the child hall, I sacrificed. I went to boot camp, I went to A school, and I served on a couple of ships, and I served in the Naval Mobile Construction Battalion. That's fighting for your country, even if you saw combat or didn't see combat. And there's politics in the military. Bottom line is this: you need to know what's going on around you. Stop letting people in the mainstream media tell you lies. And see, when you're lied to and you're deceived by the media, that means you haven't done your homework. I always tell people, hey, you don't have to agree with me, check me out. And if I say something wrong, because I miss things too, I'm human. But in the end, you really have to see what's going on out here. Many of us wake up, we go to work, and when I see people even drive into work, how much common sense is lost in ignorance, many of them still don't know where they're going. And they live in the town. So they're in a hurry to get to that paycheck, but they don't get up early enough to get that paycheck. Especially when you live in the cities and the suburbs. Everything is rush, 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 go, 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 go. That's not how it works. And I'll tell anybody, okay, you think the job of president's easy? Or you think the job of, being a mayor is easy? Or county executive? Or superintendent? You go do it. See, some of us, and I've complained about asshole bosses, but you know what? You have to ask yourself, and you have a number of Americans, yeah, they might want those positions when it comes to delegation, but when it comes to responsibility, oh no, they don't want those positions. They don't want to have their phone ringing in the middle of the night. They don't want to have their phone ringing when they're on vacation. Because even when you're on vacation and you're the president or you're an owner of a business, guess what? Responsibility is 24/7, 365. That's right. So when it comes to what's going on in this country, you're not going to fix it overnight. Now, Trump did again. He postponed the tariffs for 90 days. They're trying to negotiate, but China is the wild card. He's trying to make all the other countries pay their fair share, like we pay our fair share. He's trying to make trade fair for our country. I mean, why should we do all the paying while other countries live off the fat of the land? That's the problem. Why should we be sending our money to these other countries for stupid shit like the Ukraine war and LGBTQ over there in the Middle East? Our money shouldn't be going there. The government wastes a lot of money. And you have the dummies upset with Elon Musk saying, well, he's not a government official. He was appointed for the Dodge, Department of Government Efficiency. And they found a lot of fraud. And see what is happening with the lefties, they're so used to being in their government jobs, a gravy train is gone. And because they got comfortable on the gravy train, they want to go and protest. But their protesting is a waste of time. I mean, you look at it, I saw a video the other day, Brandon Tatum. They were at UC Davis. Some little punk ass tried to go after him. He was on a bike. He pushed him and he fell like an accordion. I mean, I'm telling you, just like this. You see how my hand is, I'm making a 90-degree angle. That dude, he pushed him, he fell back 90 degrees, like he going through something. But you have the lefties out there. They can't solve problems by talking them out. They got to go and destroy property like little kids. A number of them are stuck in arrested development. And basically, when they don't get their way, they are children. And that's all these protests are. You have a bunch of adults or children, people like Jasmine Crockett, Ayanna Pressley. Now, Maxine Waters has been silent, but the two big mouths right now are Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Jasmine Crockett. And if you hear them talk, they talk loud and they don't say anything. Like James Brown used to sing, you're talking loud and you ain't saying nothing. That's all you're doing is talking. They don't do anything. And this is why the Republicans, they got to keep the foot on the Democrats, and you need to bring out some wins for Donald Trump so we don't see these Democrats in office. Me, I don't even want them in power, because the more I hear them talk, the dumber they sound. And I'm just going to say this, talking about education, you can have all the degrees you want. I'm just going to say this about America. We got a dumb society. How can you want illegals to come into this country? Here you're Americans, and illegals are taking food out of your mouth. They're taking jobs away from you. Yeah, I know it's jobs that you don't want to do, but you know what? Here's what you do. If you don't want to do a certain job, learn a skill. Learn about automation. Learn about what's going on when it comes to TV out there. Learn that everything you see on TV is not real. Stop thinking of everything through emotion and ignorance, because that's where that patience is really panic. That's what it is. Trump has only been in office for about 60 days, or almost 60 days. He's doing everything he can do, but it's about so much the president can do with executive orders. You need Congress. You need a good Congress. You need to work with Congress. And if the Democrats want to get elected, Stop being babies and try to solve the issues. And maybe you'll get what you want. But everything is not going to be about LGBTQ and feminism, because that's basically who's out there protesting. Your individuals from LGBTQ, your feminist, your your young college kids, the dopey kids. That's who's doing everything. I mean, these individuals, they don't want to go in the military. They don't want to do anything but talk, sit on their ass. I mean, what some of these youngins ought to do is go get a little bit more education and put out more podcasts. Hey, if you want to put out some liberal points of views, do it. But get off your ass. Stop being ignorant. Because again, I'm looking at that patience. All that patience to me is it's just individuals. They're panicking. They act like, oh, my house is going to go away. Well, if you really think about it, nobody's talking about those individuals that had their houses burned up in the LA fires, and that was prior to Trump getting in the office. Nobody's talking about what's going on down in South Carolina. They had the hurricanes. When the Biden administration was going to give individuals $750, and then you had to qualify to get that $750, and then you had to pay back that $750. Meanwhile, then illegals were coming over here getting $13,000 for food stamps or EBT, $5,000 in cash. And they're not even from this country. But you got the left in here supporting it. They want the illegals here. And I know why they want the illegals there, because they want to continue to give them welfare benefits, so they'll vote for them. The problem is the welfare system has destroyed society. It's destroyed men being able to lead their families. It's basically encouraged more women to be single mothers. It's encouraged it's really basically it's incentivized no marriage. The government can do everything for you. That's not how society should work. A proper working society is you have your men who are leading. Now, I don't say providing. I'm tired of hearing the word providing. First of all, if you have a woman, she's got to earn you as a man. She's got to earn things. Just can't give her something free. Too many guys. Let me tell you guys something. Your ignorance. Stop sniffing on that bum ass pussy out there. Because you got these women out there who think that their pussy is great. Well, somebody else hit it and probably hit it for free. Stop spending your money on it. Men, you're going to have to, particularly you black men, worry more about a piece of ass than making money. And when you make money, you want to spend it on a dirty piece of ass. That's the truth. And you talk about education. Yes, you have a lot more females in every race. The Asians, white women, black. Yes, they go to school more and they have more debt. That's what people don't tell you about education. Much more debt. So I just have to put it out there like this. You got to be patient. Your patience and your emotion, it is turned into panic. That's really what it is. And it's turned into panic because you're watching the Democrats lie to you on television. They're telling you a bunch of shit that you should be researching. And don't listen to these old, if you're black, don't listen to these old niggas out here. Don't listen to them. Because they're going to put you right on the plantation. Because that's where their heads are. I'm here to get to the younger men, the younger black men. Old niggas, I don't care about them. Let them die. They're a big problem. Talk about some of the individuals my age, some of the Gen Xers, baby boomers, and some in the silent generation still around. We need some of them to die, really, because they made their money, that they've been slaving for somebody else a long time. They didn't encourage in the black community any businesses. And then when we had businesses, they wanted integration because they thought the white man's ice was much colder than the black man's ice. So we got integration, and that just took a lot of black people's ambition away from starting businesses. And our parents, they wanted us to go to school and get an education just to beg for a job. The bottom line, when you have a job is temporary. Now you're looking to stay on a job 35 years these days, because for the most part, you have companies willing to let you go. You have companies closing down because they can't get workers. But in the end, you really have to be patient. Start looking at news other than the mainstream media, because the mainstream media is going to lie to you. They'll always lie to you. And you have people like Jasmine Crockett out there thinking that the Trump administration wants people to be uneducated. No, you all want people to be uneducated. You hear these white liberal women out there talking about racism because they're the racists. That's all they talk about. Now, again, not all white people are racist, but you do have some racist black people too. And it all comes from ignorance. Racism is learned. But the Democrats, all they do is they really teach people how to be victims. They talk from a defeatist attitude. They don't like capitalism, but if they have a benefit from capitalism, they'll keep the benefit, like the stimulus. That's the bottom line. Just like everything else. Patience has turned into panic for the American people because they don't see reality, because they've been deceived. And when they've been deceived, then you start to have regrets on, why did I vote for this guy? I should have voted for this person. Well, what if Kamala Harris was president? It'd be worse. And everybody knows it would be worse. She couldn't put two sentences together. You look at Joe Biden. They lied to him by saying, well, he was coherent. He was not coherent. This dude's falling up airplanes and shit. He didn't want to do a press conference. Heck, he didn't know where he was half the time. And he's coherent. He has a lot of brains. Man left his brain when he left the Obama administration. He's never built anything in his life. And see, that's what the Democrats are. The Democrats are all paper pushers. They don't build anything. They have their hands out wanting people who build something to give them something. That's what they're about. And if you don't give them their way, they didn't cry racism, sexism, sexual orientationism. That's what they cry. And really, the bottom line for them is they want to be disruptors. They don't want change because it gets into their gravy train. So just remember, Americans, what your impatience is and your emotional thinking is, it's panic. And it's panic because you've been deceived. You've been scammed. Why? Because you didn't do your homework. You look at those people who died in Guyana, Jim Jones. Well, had people read their Bibles, they wouldn't have been with Jim Jones in the first place. And see, this is what the media does. It takes the ignorant people and it deceives them. And I just want to say this: your panic comes from your ignorance, it also comes from your impatience. And I want to say this while I close out this video. Don't allow yourself to, don't be a victim. Don't allow yourself to be scammed. Why? Because you become a cripple. And a cripple is always dependent on somebody else to help them through life. And when that happens, your choices will always be limited. Why? Because the person who's helping you live, like the government, has full control over your life. And if you don't believe me, look around you. You have so many people who are depending on government. And that's why you have all of the ignorant, impatience, and emotional thinking. Why? Because you have a number of people who have been scammed and deceived. Don't be another sucker. And that's my commentary for this edition of the 401 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. If you like what I just presented, please comment, share, and subscribe. And if you're looking for some STEM content, which stands for science, technology, engineering, and math, check out my second channel, the QCIS channel. I generally put videos out Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. And on that channel, you get a daily dose of science, technology, engineering, and math. Now, here's where you can find me. For the 401 Talk Zone radio show, you can find me right here on YouTube. You can find me on X, formerly Twitter, Truth Social, and Rumble. Now, for the QCIS channel, also find me on YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, and of course, LinkedIn. And in the end, people out there who are panicking, and you're living the day, take this, take it with a grain of salt. Be blessed for what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have. Always know that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. And if it doesn't apply, let it fly. But if the shoe fits, wear it. If you don't like the shoe, then change it. And once again, thank you for listening to this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. Till next time, my name is Leon Jones. I want you all to have a wonderful, gracious evening. God bless you. I'm out.